Welcome to Coffee with Tea. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be, because we are international, baby. So, welcome to Coffee with Tea, where most people are spilling the tea. Over here, we give you a big old cup of positivity. So, today I'm excited to have my special guest, Andromeda Raheem. She's a certified master life coach, two-time published author, motivational speaker, the founder of She Wins Society, and a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. Andromeda has dedicated her life to empowering women to shift into a winning mindset, prioritize self care, cultivate meaningful connections, and invest in their personal development to achieve the highest level of success in their lives and career. Her thought provoking and life transforming message shared on social media has attracted a following over 100,000 women worldwide. As Andromeda wholeheartedly believes in the power of community, she continuously creates spaces and opportunities for women to grow and win together. Her mantra is when women support women, we all win. So I'm going to bring Andromeda right on in because we're ready for this talk. Good morning, my sister.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks so much for the awesome introduction and for having me today.
I love you so much. You know, I'm a big fan of yours because this
Oh,
is a young woman that is really doing things for the community and for sisterhood. And there's a lot going on in sisterhood that's not always pleasant, but I love the way you can teach us how to shift. And we'll talk about that as we get into it. But I love to ask my guests, tell me something that's not in your bio that you want people to actually know about you.
that's a good question. Something that's not in my bio that I want people to know about me is that I am a woman who is always striving to improve myself. Like personal development, personal growth is my jam. So the person that you may know me as last month or last year, even 5 years ago, is not the person that I am today because I am constantly growing and improving. Also, I have a genuine heart to serve God and please God in everything that I do. So everything that I do is coming from a place of good intentions. It's coming from a place of trying to make God proud in all that I do. And so I know that, there's a lot of people in this world who don't always lead with integrity, but integrity is a huge part of my living, my daily being, my purpose for existing in this world.
Ooh, child, y'all always got to come dropping the fire. That's why I love you. Y'all always come in dropping the fire. And it's so important for me to have you tell people what's important for them to know about you. You know, we do our bio, we do our short bio, we do our long bio, and we miss the human side of it because most of the time our bio is our accolades, what we do, and all of that. But it's so nice to know that one of your main core value is integrity, and that's important
Mhm.
for people to know because it
Mhm.
ain't a lot of that floating around these days.
Unfortunate.
So let's just get right into this. Tell me about your relationship with your parents. Tell me about your family dynamic. I'd love to know that part too of where you came from or where your blueprint came from.
Sure. So I was born in New Jersey, Irvington, New Jersey, to be exact. I was raised
Woo! I'm
in
sorry.
Orange, New Jersey. And I lived there till about 8 years old. I grew up with both of my parents. And I moved to Tampa when I was 8 years old. And then I moved and finished high school in Cairo, Georgia from about 14 to 17. And then I moved on to graduate or go start school at FAMU and finish school at Flagler College. However, as far as my family dynamic goes, I am one of six children. I have three older siblings, and then I have a younger brother and a younger sister. My family is like most families. We are definitely not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. However, we are a family that for sure loves each other. We have our ups and downs, ins and outs, moments when we don't speak to each other. But my parents have a great deal of love for me. My mother is one of my biggest supporters when it comes to She Wins Society and everything that I do. And so that's a little bit about where I come from. Both my parents also are from New Jersey.
Yes, Jersey stand up. Y'all know I'm a Jersey girl, so I'm a woo woo. I'm gonna woot it up all day because Jersey girls, best in the world. The rest of y'all don't be mad. I'm just saying, we love y'all too, but we are the best. So you're married.
Yes.
So how has your parents, because there is a different dynamic of us who have been in single parent homes and those who have seen the example of a marriage. How has that impacted your marriage, and how long have you been married? And what's the biggest tip you can give to people who are looking to get married?
Oh, this is good. So I would say this: when it comes to my parents, there are definitely things that I saw in their relationship that I took into my marriage, but also things that I learned from them that I said, I don't want my marriage to be this way. So whenever it comes to, I think that anybody in their relationships, I am not a big person in like trying to basically make my relationship match how somebody else's relationship matches or looks. I try to pull out the things that I feel are going to be valuable for me, and then also tailor my relationships to what I feel like is going to be valuable for me. So one of the things that I saw growing up with my parents that I did take into my marriage was my father was always a provider. He always provided for his family. My mother did not have to work for well, she never had to work really. She chose to go to work around the time that I was in middle school, but prior to that, except like in my earlier years of life, she worked. But between like elementary and middle school, my mother did not work. She was at home. She was there to take us to school. She was there to pack our lunches. She was there to pick us up. She was there to participate in all of our extracurricular activities. My dad, he worked. He provided for his family. He did what needed to be done, whether that meant if he had to work out of state sometimes, that he did what needed to done to take care of his family. So that was something that I definitely look for in a man. I wanted to have a husband who understood the importance of providing for his family. I don't have children yet, but I always knew that when I do have children, I want to be able to have that ability to stay home with my kids if I want to, and be able to be there for them in the very important years of their life where they're growing. And I want them to have support. You know, a lot of kids experience not having both their parents at home. And so I think that changes, you know, your dynamic growing up as well. So that's one of the things that I learned from my parents. Some of the other things that I decided like I didn't like was my mother is a very I would just say she's a very quiet person in her marriage. Some people would probably, I guess, call that submissive in some ways. I'm a very empowered woman in my marriage. So it's like I remember older women asking me back in the day, like when I started my business and I was traveling a lot, is your husband okay with you doing all that traveling? You get permission from him. And I was just thinking to myself, like, get permission from my husband to travel and do what I was called to do. And I don't know. I don't know about that. One thing that my dad said to us on our wedding day was that even though you two have become one in your union, don't forget that you are both individual people who have a separate purpose in life. And so that is something that we both carry in our marriage, that my husband he is his own person, right? God created him to be how he is and to fulfill a certain purpose in the world. And God created me to fulfill a certain purpose in the world. And as long as we are being respectful of one another in our marriage, we give each other the freedom to live our lives the way that we want to live them. And so if there was any advice that I could give for someone, me and my husband have been married now for 10 years. We've been together for 20 years. If there's any advice I could give to anyone, is the piece of advice my dad gave to me before I got married, which was if you plan to marry somebody, or if you're marrying somebody with the plan to change who they are, then don't get married. If they're not who you want them to be, if you can't accept who they are at the time of marriage, then do not marry them. And so that would be the advice that I would give to anybody when it comes to marriage and any relationship. If you feel like you have to change the person, that's not the person for you. We hope that people grow and improve as we go through life, but you never want to marry somebody with the intention or hope that you can change them.
I'm speechless. That right there just freed somebody, because people think that they can change somebody, and change is inevitable. But you have to let a person evolve into who they are. You have to support them, and you have to see a person for who they are, like you said, like your father said. This is who this person is, and if they never change, is that okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
If they met everybody, I'm not married, but I'm taking that one with me. I'm gonna be with if this person never changes, can I accept that, or am I gonna spend my time trying to force this person into something? That's so good. That's so good.
And
So let's get in.
we've heard, I know you've heard the saying, you can never change a man. I know you've heard that saying, Trey. You can't
Yes.
change people. People have to want to change on their own, period.
I've heard it, but so many of us, we hear it, but we really, in the back of our minds, think that if I do this, if I do that, I could change this person. Like even in friendships and stuff, we always say, "Oh, a person got to change because they want to change," but we really have to let that be ingrained in us. Like we really have to understand that if this person don't think there's anything to change, they're not going to change. And you
Mhm.
can bust your head against a brick wall all day, but it ain't going to happen. So
Mhm.
that's just good for all areas of our life. If you're going to be in a friendship with this person and you think that you need to change them, you should just walk away. So we're going to get to this going to be good because this is the good stuff. So you have a degree in marketing,
I have
correct?
a degree in accounting.
In accounting. I'm sorry. You have a degree in accounting and you had the good job, the good career,
Mhm.
the good money, the
Mhm.
good because we gotta say the good monies.
Mhm.
What made you? And there's so many people that go to school for a certain degree, and then they have this epiphany of this is not really what this is not fulfilling me, but I have this degree and I can make this money. How did you pivot into entrepreneurship and just say, you know what? I just gotta let this go because this is what I want to do.
Listen, so let me first say this. I knew that that wasn't my degree when I was getting it. Okay. Like most people, we go with the flow of whatever the people around us are telling us we need to go with. Right. So for me, it was you go to high school, you graduate, you go to college. That's just the next step in life. It took me 6 years to get that 4 year accounting degree because honestly, I did not want to get a degree in accounting. Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to get a degree in college. I had tried several things. I actually started out in pharmacy school, then transfer into just kind of doing general studies to try to figure it out. Then I went into business and I was like, well, this is just kind of not giving me a clear idea of what I want to do. And I finally just settled on accounting, honestly, because my sister got her degree in accounting and I figured that she could help me finally finish up my coursework to get up out of there because my friends were graduating and it was just time to go. But I was not leaving school without that degree. Okay. I had spent enough time there and spent enough money there to leave to not leave without a degree. So but once I got that degree, I just felt unfulfilled. Like I was chasing the money. That was the thing that was fulfilling me for quite some time, chasing the money and the titles, right? I kept rising higher in my field in terms of like the label, like from just a general accountant to a professional accountant to an auditor. That was the last job I had, was an auditor for the Department of Corrections. And chasing the money, having this idea in my mind of how much money I wanted to make in order for me to feel like, okay, I have arrived. And then when I finally got there, it still was like, this is just it, even more so than it was like, this is not it. Like I got the money, I got the title, I have this power and authority in my workplace, but it's just not giving, right? I am literally going to work every day, dreading the drive there, dreading the time spent there, dreading the people I'm around while I'm there, and literally living for the Friday night and Saturday, because by the time Sunday comes, it's time to get ready to start work again on Monday. And I just realized like this is not it. Like I can't, life is short. God, for whatever reason, he instilled that in me very early in life, that like life is precious, life is short, and you really don't have as much time as you think you have. And I just didn't want to waste the best years of my life, my younger years of my life, any years of my life really, on doing something that just did not feel like it was what I was meant to be doing in this world. And so I set out on this path of trying to figure it out. I really started with trying to figure out like, what are the things that I find joy in doing? So I kind of got it started in like taking cupcake and cake decorating classes at Michael's. And my sister, she bought me all these books and like a charm bracelet with cupcakes on it because we really thought that was the thing that I was going to do. And then I got into kind of like a little bit of graphic design and designing flyers and stuff for other people. And I eventually figured out that like my thing was writing. Writing has always come easy to me. Even in college, I could like write out a 10-page paper overnight and get an A on it. So I knew like that's my gift. Like writing is my gift. And it's something I've been doing since a very little girl. Like I would sit in my room for hours at a time and just journal. I would always write notes to my friends. I would write poems to my boyfriends. Like writing was my thing, my place of peace. And I did it well. And so I decided to start a blog to kind of figure out like what I wanted to write about. Like my goal was to become this author, and I was just going to write all these books. And so when I started my blog, though, I was trying to figure out like, okay, what's the thing that I want to write about that I can write about consistently? And I eventually landed on the fact that women can do better. in the way that we interact with one another. Women can do better in our relationships with one another. That had been my pain point, where I really had this deep desire to have like these Sex in the City type of relationships with other women, the type of relationships that stand the test of time, where they're through the good, the bad, the ugly. We may have disagreements, but we know we love each other and we're going to come back together at some point and make up. And we just know like it's a sisterhood. It's more than just a friendship. I always wanted those types of relationships, but I seem to never be able to get them. I would go into these relationships with that in mind and that in my heart and that in my spirit, but then I would come across people who just did not reciprocate the kind of energy that I was giving. And so that was a pain point for me, because I wanted it, but I just couldn't seem to find that in other people. And so that's one of the things that I found myself talking about, is just like how women can be more compassionate of one another, more thoughtful of one another, more considerate of one another, be mindful of the fact that we're all going through very similar things in life. So we need to not be so quick to cut each other off and things like that. And from starting to talk about those things, I began to find my tribe. I began to have women come on my blog and respond and let me know they could relate to me. And that led me on a path of creating a community for women like myself. And so here we are today.
Passion is your pain point is your passion. Your passion is your pain point. So for anybody who's listening, that was a golden gem. If you are on your journey, you're trying to figure out what it is that you want to do or what needs to be done. Whatever your pain point is, tap into that. That's so good. The pain points you had led to your passion, which led to She Wins Society. So if you don't know, we're here. If this is your first time here, this is Coffee with Tea. My name is Trey Kearney. I'm a certified life and relationship coach. We are here today with our special guest, Miss Andromeda Raheem, who is a master coach. So let's talk about that. What is a master coach?
So a master coach is basically someone who has achieved multiple certifications in life coaching. So I have achieved certifications in mindset and happiness and purpose. I have also been doing life coaching since 2014. And so I have been able to help women through a variety of different challenges in life. And so sometimes people wonder, like, what is a life coach really? And ultimately, a life coach is, when you think about a coach, right? When you think about a coach of a football team or a basketball team, a life coach is like the same thing. That person is on your team. That is the person who is helping you to create the game plan for your success. That is the person who is motivating you through those trying times when life is getting hard. That is the person that is helping you to overcome the challenges and obstacles you face when the plan is not working exactly the way that we thought it was going to work. And so a life coach is very instrumental. I think if a lot of people think about their lives, right? How many people actually have a person, a designated person in their corner who is going to be those things for them in life, right? That they know they can count on to motivate them through challenging times, to help them actually create a game plan for their success. And that is going to help them to overcome the challenges that they face on the journey to reaching their goals. And so I think that's super essential. If you guys have ever watched any movie, right? Whether that be like a movie about Muhammad Ali or George Foreman or any major sports player or even celebrity, right? Those people have people in their lives who are cheering them on, making them feel like they are the most important person in the world, showing them the game plan, encouraging them through the tough times. And so do not discount the importance of having someone in your life, even if that's someone you have to hire, that is going to be your motivator, cheerleader, encourager, and coach through your journey.
And sometimes it's just too much for your family to disconnect from the emotional part of it, right? So life coaches are not, or master coaches are not emotionally connected to you. Right. So a lot of times your family, like you getting ready to go make a bad decision, and your girls, you're going to call them up, y'all going to go get the hot sauce. Y'all going to get the bat. Y'all going to be ready to go. They're going to be ready to roll with you. That's when you need the life coach to bring you back and say, hey, now if you do this, what's going to happen? What's the consequences? Because my girls, I call them right now and be like, yo, they be like, okay, or my sisters or my family. But if I call my life coach, she'll be like, let's talk about this real quick, right? Let's just weigh out the whole situation. Let's weigh the pros and the cons and see what you want to do, Trey, because that don't sound right. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just asking you some strategic questions. And life coaches, I'm a life coach too. We never tell people what to do. We just really ask you some real strategic questions that will stop you in your tracks and say, all right, there may be a better way to do this. So yes, yes, and yes. And we were talking about women relationships. So let's talk about reciprocity in relationships. And you said, along my journey, I couldn't find those women.
Mhm.
Why do you think it's hard to find relationships with reciprocity? And why do you think that we struggle as women to support each other along the journey? Now, I have some friends, my core four, I call them, and we've been friends almost 50 years. They don't go nowhere. So if you got two or three or four good friends that have been around you for 40, 50 years that you still rock with for real, like you can go, you're a good person. And I've had some women that come into my life over the years that didn't make it, that the loyalty wasn't whatever it was. And I started to question myself, like, is it
Mhm.
me? But then I had to reference back to my core four and say, if I got 40 to 50 years of friendship with them, then why do you think it's a struggle when the new people come in and the different experiences that you've had with women?
Okay, so that's a good question. First question is, why do women struggle with reciprocity, right?
Yes.
Okay. So to answer that question, I think that one reason is that women are guarded. I think a lot of us we know what we bring to the table. We know that we have good hearts, but we are afraid of being the first one to show it,
Mm,
right? So because we have this guard up and we are not as patient with one another as we could be sometimes, we don't allow ourselves to find out that that person that we're dealing with is actually going to show us the love that we deserve.
mm,
There's just a guard up. We have walls up between one another. I think a lot of us have the expectation even that that woman that I'm dealing with at some point in this relationship, she's going to show me her true colors and she's going to betray me. She's going to backstab me. So instead of me laying all my cards on the table, instead of me putting my heart out there fully, I'm going to put my guard up and I'm going to wait until this person has shown me enough to finally put myself out there. But then the problem with the other person is that they've been showing you love and support constantly over and over and over again. And now they're saying, well, when is it my turn? When is it my turn? I think the other thing is women are tired. We're tired. That's just a true thing. But I think that if we understood this, that how I look at it is this: if you have a cup and I have a cup, and if I can rely on you to pour in my cup when I need it, and you can rely on me to pour in your cup when you need it, then neither of us go empty. But when you are surrounded by people who everybody's just trying to hold what they can in their own cup, everybody's eventually going to dry up. That's just what's going to happen. And so I think that women have to understand that even though sometimes we are tired, or even sometimes we don't may not feel like doing things, when you are in a relationship is transactional. There is give and take in a relationship. You can't always be taking and not giving. Anybody is going to get tired of that. So I think that that's one of the other things is just, again, recognizing that what part you play in a relationship and knowing that you need to be pouring into others just as well as others are pouring into you. And yeah, those are like the two big things that I would say. Just women being tired. Oh, and I would say this is the last thing. Some people are just selfish. Some people are just downright selfish and self-serving, and they cannot see anything beyond themselves. They want what they want when they can get it. I have had
mm.
friends who, I was that friend, like, if it's your birthday, if it's your celebration, like, I don't care how tired I am, I don't care what I got going on, I'm gonna make my way there, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna support you. And when it would come time for my stuff, whatever excuse that they had, whether their man had something to do, whether it was their family has, whatever it was, they found something else that prioritized me, was priority over me. They had no problem telling me no. And so for a long time, that caused me to kind of put up guards up, because I said to myself, well, why do I want to keep trying to be this type of friend to women when I can't seem to get the same reciprocation? So again, that's where that cycle starts, where now I got my guard up and I know I'm a good person. I know I'm a good friend, but I don't even want to be a good friend because I'm so tired of people treating me like that. And so the cycle continues.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yes, it's okay. Our situation here.
Yeah.
Nobody else doesn't know it's my son, but here we go. Let's keep it going. So now that we are talking about this and that cycle and knowing that everybody's not going to be able to reciprocate, right? How do we separate ourselves and begin to know our worth? because a lot of that comes from when we stay in relationships too long, whether it's with girlfriends, intimate relationships that are no longer serving us or hurting us. A lot of us are staying there because we don't know our worth. And you talk a lot about, knowing your worth and charging your worth. And that's not just money,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
even your most valuable commodity. So how do you know that you're not charging your worth in life? And that means like girlfriends taking time and not pouring back. And how do you know when to start charging your worth? And how did
Mm-hmm.
you find out? Because I know you had changed some things in your life, like
Mm-hmm.
some of your circle. When did you say, I know my worth, and it's time for me to start? It's time for Andromeda to start charging. And was there fear of losing anything?
Mm. Okay, so that's loaded. Okay, how did I know when it was time to start charging my worth? Okay, and
Yep.
how do you know when it's time? Okay, so how do you know when it's time to start charging your worth? Is when the relationships that you're in are exhausting you, right? Like you're not fulfilled from these relationships anymore. The time that you're spending when you leave these relationships, you feel heavier, you feel more drained, you feel exhausted. That's when you know that you're not charging your worth, right? You're not honoring your worth, because that means that you are putting way more into it than you are getting out of it. And again, as I said earlier, relationships are transactional. Anybody who says different, they are lying. No one is in any relationship in their life without getting something out of it. If they are, then they do not know their worth. They are just allowing themselves to be used and abused. And who wants to be in a relationship where you are used and abused? Every relationship that you're in, like if you go to your job and your job says we're not going to give you a paycheck next week, are you still going to work? You're not. I don't care how much you love your job, right? We all have to understand that relationships are transactional. Now, for me, I recognize that it was time for me to change things because I was looking around at my circle, or the women that were in my environment, and I was seeing how they were coming to my table and they were eating. They were eating good. They were filling up, right? And what they were getting from my table was allowing them to excel and succeed and do these great things. And I'm happy for them. I'm glad that they're doing that. But what I'm finding out is that I'm feeding you. You're sitting at my table and I keep feeding you and feeding you, but you're never bringing anything to the table. You're never putting anything back on the table. And so now I'm left looking around in my cupboards and they are bare, right? I'm empty. I'm tired. I've been serving and serving and giving and giving and doing and helping you. And I'm glad that you're doing well. But where is the integrity within yourself? Where is the character within yourself to say, I have ate so good from sitting at this woman's table. I have been very successful from what she has given me to eat. Why would I not pour back into her? Why would I not give back to her so that she can continue to eat, and not only eat, but continue to serve others? And that is when I realized something needed to change. That although I love serving other women, I love seeing other women win, I love helping other women to be successful, there has to be reciprocity, because guess what? If Andromeda goes empty, then no one else is getting served from Andromeda. Everybody is going to now, that whole process ends and stops. And my purpose to me is more important. My life is more important. My worth is more valuable than allowing people to keep coming to eat at my tables and not bother to bring anything to my table.
Drop the mic. Mic drop moment, ladies. If you're listening, ladies, seriously, we have to learn how to bring something. And check this part out, because this is the experiences I've always had. And from your experience, this is so good. I've always had the experience of I've invited you to my table, and I've invited you at the, let's say, the birthday table, right? And there's 100 people there. You got your 40 that you invite to the big table in the front, or the wedding. I've invited people to the special table. And when they invite me to the table, they invite me to the table by the bathroom, or they invite me to the table where they dropping the forks in the kitchen. And I'm like, very interesting. I invite you to the table and you sitting next to me, and you invite me to the table and you got me 7 tables away from you. So we ain't even on the same page. And that's how I started to learn my worth. And like you said, this is never tit for tat.
Mm-mm.
But I see now where you want me in your life. And I've been overextending myself, and that ain't nobody's fault but my own. And like you said, this is when I knew I had to say, hey, you know what? I wish you well and I'm glad you're doing well. But what you're not going to do is starve me. Because now I'm trying to replenish and I have nowhere to go because I have extended myself. And this is for some of the ladies who are listening and the men. Sometimes we don't realize when we're giving and giving and doing is because we want to be validated by people. So we
Mhm.
start to find value in being used. And we got to be careful with that because we're saying yes because we find our value in the things that we're doing for other people who
Mhm.
don't care about us. So we got to be careful not to find value in being used and just know our worth and find value in that. So this is so
Yes.
good. So let's go to our next topic because you talk about some amazing things and I love being in your presence because you are a wealth of knowledge and I told you you're an old soul. If y'all just tuned in, this is Andromeda Raheem. She's an old soul. And if you want to get your whole entire life right, she has a community called She Wins Society. And she really allows women to be who they are there. She really encourages and teaches them to really, really know who they are and to know your worth and to charge extra, right? Because we behind the glass. Everybody should not be getting to touch us. Like somebody should need the key to say, hey, ma'am, can I see that? Can I touch that? Because everybody shouldn't touch us. But these are the things that she teaches. So choosing your circle wisely.
Mhm.
Let's talk about why that's so important to you.
Mm. Okay. So that's so important to me because, and I don't say this, and I'm gonna say this in a very confident way because I'm very confident in myself. And I wasn't always confident in myself, but I am a movement by myself. I am a movement. Like I am a very creative woman. When I get it in my mind to do something, I get it done. I have achieved some major, major accomplishments in my life. Like when I look at my resume, I am for sure that girl. Like if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. People can count on me to follow through what I say I'm going to do. I have a lot of integrity. I'm just powerful. Like I recognized my power to have a vision and bring that vision to life. And so knowing that about myself, knowing that over all of these years of my life, that whenever I set out to do something, I've done it. I have done some amazing, extraordinary things in my lifetime. I want to be around women who give that same energy. We have all heard the saying, iron sharpens iron. However, sometimes we can get in these spaces where we want to be the smartest in the room, or we are intimidated by other people who seem to be more successful than us, or whatever the case may be. And so for me, as I continue to rise and grow and elevate and evolve and improve myself, like I want to be around the kind of women who have the same kind of power as me or more power than me. I want to be around this women who have the same kind of confidence as me or more confidence as me. Like I want to be around the iron that is going to sharpen me. And we've all heard the saying before, like you become like the people you surround yourself with. So if you're around small-minded people, if you're around people who complain all the time, if you're around people who have settled for a mediocre life, settled for a mediocre existence, settle for mediocre finances, settle for mediocre relationships, then you are going to be one of those people who are settling for those mediocre things. And where I am in this season of my life, there is just so many, like God has placed a very clear vision in my heart. I have this deep desire to maximize my life. Like I don't want to leave here without doing everything that I could do to leave my mark on this world. And so I know that it's very important for me to surround myself with women who are willing to invest in themselves, willing to invest in my visions, willing to create their own tables for me to pull up seats and sit at and contribute to. Like I need to be around iron that's sharpening iron. So for anybody who's listening to this, like if you have these big visions and dreams, but you're looking around at your circle and these are people who, like I said, are always complaining, they doubt their own ability to do things, they're constantly discouraging you from doing big things, they're constantly trying to dim your light, get away from those people. You have to surround yourself with the kind of people who are going to reflect back to you who you want to become. That is how you become greater. That is how you achieve greater. And that's how you win bigger.
So how do you separate yourself from, we got history with folks.
Mm-hmm.
And some folks we got history with, they just there.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you separate that pool of women that you're talking about, the iron sharpen the iron? And some people are comfortable being a big fish in
Mm-hmm.
a small pond, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've expanded yourself. You want to be a big fish in a wide ocean, and you're not afraid to be smaller, to learn. And
Mhm.
that speaks volumes about you, because some people, they don't want other people's light to shine. They want to be the smartest person in the room. But how do you distinguish, and where do you place the people, like the people in your life who you have history with? You don't want to be disloyal because that's your girl. Y'all grew up slumber parties, and then you meet these other women who are ambitious, who are moving forward, who see you. How do you draw that line between those two people without seeming like, you're not a loyal person to the people who used to be in that space? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Well, I'm gonna say loyalty is gonna be the death of a lot of us in some cases. Like it's good to be loyal, right? But you don't ever want to be loyal to a fault, like loyal to your detriment. Like I shared earlier on, the advice my dad gave to me and my husband about us being two individual people with two individual purposes, even though we are becoming one in our union. I think that just applies across the board to every relationship we could ever have. Your life has value. You are not here for your own wants and desires. There is something specifically that you are meant to achieve while you are on this earth. There are people who you are specifically meant to connect with and impact while you are on this earth. And sometimes the seasons are going to change. Sometimes those people who were your number one, your day one, are going to have to take a back seat for a little while you work on doing the things that you need to do. And so while some people might feel like that's, being mean or that's being selfish, you have to honor who you are. Some people are going to grow with you, right? And then some people are not. That's a process of growth. Growth requires separation. Elevation requires separation. We've heard it all the time. And it's not that I don't feel like it's that you're being disloyal to other people, but I do think that you will be dishonorable to yourself and to God if you choose to stay in places where you are not being allowed to grow into your full potential, where you are not shining as bright as God created you to shine. And so I think that the people who love you, who are meant to be those lifetime friends, they will understand when you have to soar higher above them. That's not that you don't want them to soar with you, because you can invite them to soar with you, right? But some people, like I have friends who, when I started my entrepreneurship journey, they had no interest whatsoever in being entrepreneurs. They still to this day do not have any interest in being entrepreneurs, and that's okay. And to me, they're still boss women on their own, because they are very successful women in their careers. But we don't meet in the same way in our minds, because entrepreneurship and working for somebody is two completely different lifestyles. And so there are times when I'm going to have to tell my friends that, hey, that's not for me. I don't want to do that. Or my lifestyle currently, entrepreneurship, things are looking kind of crazy right now financially. I can't, take that trip. Or actually, I could take that trip, but I'd rather actually invest in my business because I'm building something right now. And so I think that communication is one of the ways in order to maintain those relationships, and they really matter to you. But at the end of the day, like, you have to do what is best for you, your life, and your purpose. Because at the end of the day, you have to wake up and go to sleep in your skin, and you have to live with the decisions that you make.
Come through, baby sis. Come through, baby sis. Yes. So I know you're a two-time author. I just want you to talk a little bit about that. What inspired? I know you love writing,
I do.
but going from blogging to being an author is a totally different ball game. What inspired you to want to write a book? And tell us about the books.
Okay, so actually, my journey from to blogging really started with this vision of me becoming an author. So I became an author like 5 years after I started blogging. But my books are called She Wins and She Wins Again. And actually, my first book, She Wins, is like a compilation of a lot of things that I had already written, especially on social media. Like I grew my following from sharing a lot of motivational quotes, a lot of cute quotes, a lot of quotes that resonate with women about knowing their worth, about being supportive of other women. One of the quotes that I have in my book is, if you can't stand to see another woman glow up, you need to grow up, right? So I share just different messages in my first book, She Wins, about just becoming, like, being that woman who is confident in herself, that woman who knows her worth, and that woman who is not afraid to support other women and shine with other women. My second book, She Wins Again, is it's not a second part to She Wins, but it is a second or another version of me, right? An extension of my journey. And so She Wins again is a lot about the different lessons that I learned since She Wins. And so I share a lot of things about self-care because 5 years into full-time entrepreneurship, I reached burnout and I lost complete passion for my purpose because I was giving so much and doing so much, and I just was not being poured back into in the same amount that I was pouring out. And so I reached burnout. And so I share a lot about self-care in that book. I share a lot about relationships in that book, just learning some things we talked about today about learning when it comes to family, friends, anybody that you love. Like, you can't change people. You have to learn how to move through life and flow through life in a graceful way and not allow certain things to just cause you to be hung up, right? Like, one of the things I talk about in the book is how you can go through life. And when you're born into this world, you can be like completely inflated, right? Think of yourself like a basketball that's completely inflated, and you are rolling through life and you're bouncing really high, and just things are the way they need to be. You're whole and complete. And then as you roll through life, you experience these moments where you get punctured, right? That person betrayed you, that family member disappointed you, you experience some loss of failure, and now you are kind of just patching up the holes instead of actually healing from the things that you're experiencing. So ultimately you're still rolling through, but you're still deflating along the way. And so I talk about how it's really important for us to stay whole, right? To allow ourselves to experience certain things, take time enough to grieve, to heal from those things so that we can continue to bounce high and not just continue to roll through life deflated and triggered by every little thing that we come across. And so I just share, like I said, a lot of lessons that I've learned about life and how we can continue to thrive despite the challenges and struggles we face, because everybody experiences struggles and challenges. We just have to know how to be resilient through them and still allow ourselves to soar despite with things that are trying to weigh us down.
So tell us about She Wins Society.
Yeah. So listen, I think I said earlier, like, I'm one of those people that's constantly growing. So if you knew me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you likely do not know me today. Like, at my core, I'm the same person, but I evolve all the time. And so She Wins Society today is a community that is intended for ambitious women who want to be successful leaders, entrepreneurs, and influencers. So when I first started this journey, I started this all about sisterhood, wanting to bring women together, women from all walks of life together to support each other and encourage each other. And what I have learned over the years, though, is that there's a specific kind of woman that I not only want to surround myself with, but that I want to champion, right? I champion all women, but for She Wins Society, the purpose of She Wins Society is to really help those women who are like myself, visionaries, creatives, purpose-driven women who just want to do good in the world and bring their visions to life. And so I know that entrepreneurship is a very hard journey. Being a leader is a very hard journey. Being a creative is even a difficult journey. We're often the most misunderstood people in the world. And so I want to create a space for those of us who are these creatives, who have this heart to create, to also profit from our gifts so that we don't get to those places where we feel like we are tapped out, where we are empty and we have nothing left to give. We want to give, but we have nothing left to give because we're not profiting, right? We're not in the right spaces where people are supporting and valuing our gifts. And so that's what She Wins Society is today. It's a community where women are absolutely supporting women, but this is a community specifically for women, ambitious women, creatives, leaders, and entrepreneurs.
Please let us know where we can find you.
Yes, you can absolutely visit shewinsociety.com. Our membership will be opening soon. I won't give you a date, but I will say soon. We have our She Wins Conference and Awards that is coming up in Atlanta, Georgia on November 9th, 2024. So please do check that out. It's going to be an exceptional day of education, celebration, and sisterhood. And you can follow She Wins Society on Instagram, and you can follow me on Instagram as well at Andromeda.wins. Oh, and of course, She Wins Society is on Facebook.
Thank you so much, Andromeda. Thank you for your time and your talent. Thank you so much for tuning in to Coffee with Tea, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.